Okay, so in last video we were talking about all the different cavities and how we find these in the axial division of the body, and they basically contain and help to separate all of the vital organs. Well, we have to go a step further. So we've got these containers, but then within the containers and all these individual organs, we want to protect them from making contact with each other, because if two solid objects contact, there's friction. Friction will result in wear, which will damage the organs, and that will result in inflammation, which could kill you. So you can see that it would behoove you, right, to have some extra barriers between. But it turns out, I mean, you've really got, your cavities are jam-packed, so you can't give up a lot of space. So these extra boundaries you find in the form of serous membranes. All right, and there's a membrane is basically a wrapper around something, or a boundary, or sometimes a barrier, like cutaneous membranes, synovial membranes. They enclose things, contain things, right? And this serous membrane, serous means it's a watery something. So serous membranes have a couple rules, right? And here we see the heart with its serous membranes, and indeed it does, and it is indeed called the pericardium collectively. But serous membranes in general, and there are 4 of these, will have 2 layers. And you sense that here. I love the idea of the fist and the balloon, because that's really the representation of how it works. The fist is the organ, and the balloon, these 2 boundaries are formed because of this. So the viscera refers to the organ, and the visceral layer is always next to the organ. The parietal is on the outside, and often is actually right up against the body cavity, right, the wall of the body cavity. So parietal is pertaining to the wall of the body cavity, and visceral pertaining to the organ. All right, and then they'll have a little tiny bit. The space is not this big, right? Little, just tiny amounts of fluid, and very watery fluid between them, because like any physical moving parts, think of your car, for instance, or an appliance, you generally have to have a little lubrication again, which also helps with reducing friction. So there's a little bit of fluid in this, all right? These membranes never exchange with the outside world. They are closed compartments within these cavities. All right, so this just talks outer layer contacts, inner layer is visceral, all right? There are 4 of these, and they're shown here nicely. I like this image that shows the blue is the color coding for the parietal, and red is the color coding for the visceral. And we see the 4 of them here. We see the pericardium, and of course that's in the thoracic. We see the right and left pleura, right? And these are part of the pleural cavities, but they are separate. And again, parietal, visceral. And then we see the collective peritoneal. So here the blue again is the parietal peritoneum, the red is the visceral, and then areas where they are doubled, right, because red and blue mixed together are purple, right? You see what we call the mesenteries. And mesenteries are actually organs themselves, but again, they're made up of these membranes. And it's really kind of cool when you look at this. We looked at this in the intestines last night. And what happens is this double layer, 2 layers, so serous membranes, 2 layers, and so you collectively have 4 layers here. These sandwich and hold blood vessels, lymph vessels, nerves, and keep them all contained, and then connect all these structures within. And they are packed. There is no white space, right? But that's absolutely appropriate. All right, we call that, again, don't forget those mesenteries. All right, what do you find in these cavities contained by these serous membranes? All right, so this is the last part of this, and again, I'm not going to play the Kahoot here, so we'll save that for class. Last section here, medical imaging. How do you view and study all this? Know the techniques commonly used, what you can tell about a person, x-rays, heart structures, one slice at a time. This is all, right, just for your information. It is not something I'm going to test you guys on, all right? So you don't have to know, but some of you may go on into radiology, and this was very important to know. And it's important to know the risks associated with these different types of imaging, and what constitutes them, in case you didn't. So this is a nice for your information and possible further professional, but probably personal, because unfortunately at some point in life, either you or someone you know, they're going to order images on, and you should know what that consists of. All right? Magnetic MRIs, if you've never had one, I hope you never do. But, they're not very fun. But again, this is still sectioning, as I said. So, and then PET scans, the positron emissions, again. So I'm kind of covering it again. It's all for your information, please, not on the test. All right. And then again, ultrasound is probably the least risky of all the imaging, but it's, again, it's limited. Technology gets better and better, but it's caused from the echo sounds from sound waves, and it's used. Most people probably are aware of it from, again, if you were pregnant as a female and they did ultrasound to check the fetus. It doesn't go through bone gas, so there's limitations. All right, and again, I'm going to do the Kahoot! For us in class so that you can replay it if you need it. All right, so I hope this gives you a good introduction to the first chapter on body organization and what life is, how it works, how we maintain it. So we will move into chemistry next.